So today everyone, we're going to be doing a uniform haircut. As you can see, the client has quite short hair already. She has her hair in a uniform haircut, and we're just going to give it a nice little trim all over. This is one of my elder ladies. She's 85 years old next week, so it's nice to catch up with her on a weekly basis. So I've washed the hair and now I'm going to section the hair. What I tend to like to do, I create like a halo effect for my client. So for most of my haircuts as well. Sometimes I section front and back, but this for shorter hair, I always like to work with the exterior of the haircut first and then move in slightly on to the interior. So my client is showing me that she'd like to have her hair cut so that she could tuck it behind her ears. So we have to make sure that we've got a little bit of length there so that she can tuck. Otherwise it's just cutting around the ears so that you can see the ears in full. So I'm pulling the section forward, holding it close to the head. And then this is where I always say it's the fake ear shape. You go up at an angle where the ear is, and then you go down again behind the ear. So when you comb the hair straight down, it looks like there would be an ear in that shape. The reason that we do that is because the hairline itself goes in the exact same direction. So as you can see, combing it down, it goes into a point in front of her ear. I've tried to angle the camera so that we can see as much as I see, but sometimes you will see my lovely arm in the way. So the back bit, I'm just going to trim all the way round, and it's not a straight haircut, it's a curved haircut, so it comes up at the sides. What you do tend to find when doing this is that it all needs to connect. So it needs to connect from the fringe all the way down the side of the face, around the ears, and all the way back. And that is actually creating what I call like the guideline. I know that I don't ever want to take it shorter than the guideline, because then I'll have to change it both sides then. So what I've done to the right hand side, I'm now copying and doing exactly the same to the left hand side as well. So as this is a uniform haircut, the hair is going to be the same length all over the head. So just checking right and left, making sure that it's okay. Sometimes I might layer it before I bring down the top section, but today I've decided not to. Sometimes I trim the fringe as well first, but I'm going to do that a little bit later. So now I've gone on to what I call like the Mohican section. I'm going to pull it all up 90 degrees to the head. So the first section was slightly tilted forward because the forehead is at an angle as well. It's not circular. And I'm going to pull it 90 degrees and just follow that angle all the way around the head. Taking little bits off at a time. And I know where to cut because the bit right in the corner of where my fingers kind of web at the top, that's the guideline. So that's the bit that I copy. Now I've done the Mohican bit from forehead to nape, and I'm just going to section it left and right. And I'm going to use the guideline now to angle it 90 degrees and pulling it out slightly to the right hand side and cutting up. Okay, my guideline yet again is in that webby bit where my fingers meet. because that's got a little bit of the Mohican in. Now I'm going to take some of that guideline and just go down a bit further. So I'm taking panels, you might call them orange sections, as I cut. And I've always got the guideline at the top of where my fingers meet, and I'm just going to go right the way down to the last section now. Now I've got the guideline at the top and bottom here, so I just need to cut off what's in between. So I don't want to go shorter at the bottom because that's my the perimeter of the haircut that I cut first of all. And I don't want to go shorter than the guideline at the top because that means I'll have to go shorter everywhere else, which I don't want to do. So what I've done to the right hand side, I'm now going to copy and do to the left. You can stand in front of your client and work that way if you want to, but I tend to stay at the back sometimes I go to the front. Right, so the guideline, now I'm working on my left hand side, the guideline is now at the tips of my finger, and it's got a bit of the Mohican in. So I never cut the guideline, that is the guideline. And I'm just going to take a panel a bit further down. My guideline yet again is at the tips of my finger. And after years and years of doing hairdressing, you'll tend to find that you can feel where the hair needs to be cut. As you pull your fingers up and slide it through the hair, you'll tend to realise that that is the length that needs to be cut because it's the same all the way round. And it's the next panel, yet again the guideline is top and bottom. And I don't want to take it any shorter than that. So that there is the front section being cut. And what I'm doing now is I'm balance checking with my fingers left and right, pulling it out at 90 degrees and just checking that it feels the same. And if it isn't, go back in and check it. The head is round, so you're going to have corners all over the head and you have to cross-check these corners. So I'm just going to be cutting the fringe area now. Just taking a little bit off the front and then just connecting it into the sides that I had done previously. As you can see, it's all kind of connected. I'm just going to balance check it, just check the points left and right are the same. If they're slightly different, then adjust them to suit. So the back section now I'm going to work on. Yet again, I've got my Mohican from the middle that I did earlier, and I'm just going to work in orange sections all the way down to the nape. I'm pulling everything out 90 degrees. And then what I do to the right side, I then do to the left. just going to balance check it, pulling it out. And now I'm going to cross check it. So the bottom bit I'm going to kind of pull out 90 degrees. I take it in 3 sections. So I normally do the centre bit, then the right bit, then the left bit. And there's not much to come off here. You're just talking little corners where the head is circular. So this is pulling up 90 degrees. Sometimes there's nothing to cut off. If there's nothing to cut off, leave it. And then you just got to make sure that the back blends in with the sides, blends in with the tops. Just cross check it in every direction possible. As long as you're pulling it out 90 degrees, there shouldn't be any areas which are slightly longer. And always balance check it. Use the mirror to balance check. Use your fingers. And then once you're happy with it, then you can start to blow dry. And that's it, just de-hair a little bit, sweep up, because the floor is slippery. And then moving on to the blow dry, getting the products that you want to use. I tend to use a mousse on my client, and this is the mousse that I use. It's really good actually for short hair. Can be quite sticky though, and it's very strong. But my client really likes this in her hair. Just apply it all over. She wants a round brush blow dry, and then she tends to have the tongs put on her hair, but she likes to provide her own tong for me to use, which is perfectly fine for me. Saves me having to plug in my own and wait for it to heat up. And I'm just going to use a round brush number 13 because the hair is quite short, and just start blow drying. You can use clips to section the hair, especially if it's a bit long, but I know her hair quite well now and it tends to stay quite still as I blow dry it. That's it, it's number 13. And we're just going to work from the base upwards. Just making sure each section is dry, twisting, 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 and creating some sort of lift and a little bit of curl as well. The lift is the most important thing because I'm going to create a bit more of a curl with the tongue after. Try and keep your sections nice and straight. So these are just horizontal sections at the back, and at the side I would tend to do vertical sections. I can't use my left hand to hold the brush, so I do everything with my right hand. So this is how I blow dry the right hand side. So the brush is held vertically, and we're going to create curl in like panels going forward. And I have to lean right over this side so that I can get the brush straight, because I can't swap hands with my brush, it's not strong enough, so I just use one hand all the time. So now this bit, I do it horizontally. Like I said earlier, I'm going for the lift rather than the curl. I know it looks quite gappy at the moment, but we'll sort that out at the end. At the moment, we're just drying it and creating a bit of bend. And for the top section, I always stand in front of the client. Find out what way they want to go, whether it's to the left or to the right, and blow dry it in that direction. So the front section now, just drying it with as much volume as we can. And the fringe bit will always dry forward. You can kind of push it over. So now I'm just going to use my client's little heated tong. I just go over it very lightly in the exact same areas as I blow dried it with the round brush. Hold it on there for a bit and move on. Now using a little tease brush, or comb shall I say, just going to back comb in areas just to separate the curl and to close any gaps, just to make the hair look full. So she wanted the hair tucked behind her ears today, which looked nice. Just sprayed a little bit of hairspray on it. Could spray some hairspray on my fingers and then wipe it on the side bit so it tucks a little bit neater around there. Rather than trying to spray her ear, I'll spray my hand and wipe it on that way. Yeah, so she was a happy camper, and she'll be in a couple of weeks to get her highlights done, so I'll try and get that filmed as well so you can see highlights done on short hair as well.